Welcome back to the Growth Guide. Today we have Philippa Games. Philippa helps business owners and marketing executives of small to medium-sized companies find actionable insights in their digital analytics and help them make recommendations that will grow their business and reduce wasted spending because there are so many missing those hidden gems. She has over 20 years of experience in translating the metrics into creative ideas to move the business forward. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. So first off, in the world of analytics, because we're on the paid digital side, the paid ad side. So when we implement analytics and we explain it to our clients, most of the time they have no idea kind of what we're talking about. So how do you explain it to people who have never heard of it, don't know how to use it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what web analytics does is to tell you what happens on your website. So it tells you how many people come to your website, which pages they go to, and what they do on those pages. So that means that if somebody clicks on a paid ad, then that's great. But the question then becomes, are they the right person to click on the ad, right? Are they a good prospect for your business? And does what they get to, so the first page that they see when they click on your ad is called the landing page. Does that landing page and then subsequently whatever other pages they go to persuade them to take the action that you want them to take because they clicked on the ad, right? So the ad's like the first part of getting the customer, but then what happens after the ad is really important. We used to have a concept called scent, SCENT, right? Which is that when somebody clicks on the ad, it's because they've got an intent. They've got a reason for clicking on the ad. And that motivation, that thought process that they're going through has to be continued as they come to your website. Because if it doesn't, and if there's, like an immediate disconnect, then they're likely going to go away. What we used to call bounce off. They'll just leave immediately. And if they do that, ultimately, it's really bad for your ads.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Google sees that most of the people who click on a given ad immediately leave your site when they click on it, then they're going to stop showing that ad or give it lower ranking, right? As obviously so that's a problem. So if that starts happening, you want to be able to diagnose why is it happening. It could be because the ad is setting up the wrong expectations. So it could be a problem with the ad, but if not, it could also be a problem with your website, and that's what you need to dive into. So
Okay.
Does that start to answer the question?
100% it does. That's a way better way than I explain it, because analytics it can be complicated, especially as you kind of dive more into kind of like the nuts and bolts of it. But as an overview, that's a fantastic way of explaining it. So in your experience, how have you used analytics to diagnose those website problems to kind of help that customer journey from clicking on the ad to actually converting into a client?
Right. So as I said, one thing is the intent. So what they've clicked on. So sometimes it can be more difficult than others to figure out what the intent is. Like if somebody clicks on an ad that sort of says buy this product, and it's a very direct, buy, discount, special offer, or whatever the ad says, then you might say, well, it's pretty clear that they're looking for a deal, they're looking to make a purchase, right? In which case, if it doesn't work out, maybe they wanted more information or something like that. You need to sort of look at where do they go from the landing page. Sometimes, unfortunately, the intent is much less obvious. So, in fact, the vast majority of clicks are not from people who are looking to make an immediate buy. They're normally people who are looking to, further up the customer journey. They're looking for information. They're looking to get some ideas of which product might satisfy what they're looking for, right? And so what they want to do is find out more about your business and more about the products that you're offering. And if that's the case, then you need to be providing good content about the products, reviews, videos, how to use it, the specifications, and all of that good stuff. And then hopefully as well, a way to get back to them. Because if they're not going to buy it immediately, they're going to go away. And then the question is, will they come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a mailing list that they can join for something that's a good incentive, like future offers, or I don't know, points or whatever, then that's worth thinking about, because if you can get them on your mailing list so that you can get back to them, you can persuade them to come back. Now, in analytics, so I specialize in using Google Analytics 4. Obviously, there are other analytics packages out there. A lot of people don't like GA4 because it's rather complicated, but it's very powerful if you can get to use it properly. And so one of the things that you can do in GA4 that's very cool if you're advertising is to build what we call audiences. So an audience is a group of people who've done something specific. So they've come from a specific ad, or they've clicked on a certain landing page, or they've interacted with a certain video, so that you can put those people into a group that you can then re-advertise to. So that can be very helpful. And there's also a technique called remarketing, because it's amazing. We still have huge abandonment rates of shopping carts, right? So even if somebody puts something into a shopping cart, there's still, I think it's still around 70%. It's a huge amount. Won't actually complete the transaction then and there. So another thing that you can do, that analytics can be helpful with, is send those people an email, assuming that if they started the shopping process, they've given you their email address, that can say, hey, saw you didn't complete your purchase, here's some sort of incentive, or love to know why you didn't like it, or whatever it was that got in the way. And that can be somewhat effective in getting people to go ahead and do the thing.
100%. Like when we start with the client and we onboard and we implement all the pixels and the Google Analytics and the tracking, we try and get our conversion event as close to the purchase and the dollar figure as we can. Because, I mean, in regards to the paid side, as you know, the algorithm is way smarter than any of us. So actually having that conversion event as close as possible, will allow it to show that ad to more people who are more likely to buy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and Google has automated a lot of the bidding for paid and so on. I know that there are people who have their suspicions that the algorithm is also looking to maximize Google's revenue, which I'm sure is probably true. So, I mean, I must say that of the clients I've worked with around this area, to be quite honest, we've seen varying results in terms of optimization using Google automated strategies. I don't know what your experience is. So, I think that even if you choose to automate and to use what they suggest, you need to keep a pretty good eye on what's going on to make sure that you're not. I think it's very, very easy to overspend your budget.
100%.
Yeah.
We're more on the Facebook and Instagram side, like the meta ads. So like kind of like the way that we run our ads, it's like we're looking for different KPIs. So we don't just kind of do what Google or Facebook says, like for their optimization, because that's like you were saying, that's an easy way to just overspend your budget by way too much.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yeah.
the analytics are the backbone for everything in marketing, and it should be that way. I'm surprised that most people just don't have them in the first place.
Right. And or they don't understand them, or the real problem with analytics is that there's so much data that it can be just overwhelming. And I mean, the old Universal Analytics, I think, used to have like 140 default reports. I have no idea how many there are in GA4 because it's just so massive. And the truth is that unless you go to your analytics with a question in mind, you've got a strategy, right? You know what you're trying to do. You know what some of the key metrics that you want to measure are. So you know what you're looking for. It's just impossible to get useful information out. And on the other hand, if you have a strategy and if you know what you're looking for, certainly with Google Analytics 4, you can customize it very, very deeply to really drill into what's going on. So, like, for example, if you have a landing page, one of the key things about the landing page is going to be the call to action. And it's amazing to me how many people have landing pages that don't have a clear call to action, that don't make it clear what you're going to get, how to get it. or they put the call to action right at the bottom of the page. Now, that means that if it's a longer page, to be more than one screen full, and people don't scroll down the page, they're not ever going to see your call to action. And in my experience, if they don't see the call to action, very few people are going to want to figure out how to get stuff. They just don't. Now, in analytics, so you can do things like see how far down the page people do scroll. So you can see how much of the content do they actually get to see. So if there's really important content further down the page that very few people see, that's something that you need to know about, right? If that content is likely to make the difference between them doing the next thing or not, and most people aren't seeing it, obviously you've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can tell that kind of thing, how many people click down the page. Now, also, I often recommend that you put the call to action more than once on the page. So you can put it way high up on the page. If you think about Amazon, right, the buy this right now, one-click purchase is right at the top of the page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for people who just like, okay, I got it, I'm doing this now, you got it there and you can do it. And of course, there are further clicks further down the page. So you can do that. There's no reason why you should only have one call to action on a page. You should have it wherever you think that people are kind of at the point where they might say, okay, how do I get this? Tell me more, whatever it is. And then again, with analytics, if you do that kind of thing, you can see, you can program it to see which of the calls to action people click on, right? Do they more likely click on the top one or the bottom one or whatever? If you've got different wording on the call to action, you can see which wording gets the best results. You can get really good at making things really optimized. You can do what we call A/B testing, right? Which is to try two different variants of the call to action and see which one works better. So it's a shame that you say that a lot of your folks aren't using analytics, because it can be a really powerful tool to get your website singing a whole lot better.
Exactly. I mean, it's when a lot of people come to us, it's like my thing is like I show clients analytics, like this is kind of what we do, this is how it looks, and they're just kind of like mind blown. Like there's so many numbers, like where do we even start? So
right, and that's the point that I'm making is exactly. I mean, that's exactly right. And so the point is, what do you want to know? Now, with Instagram and Facebook, like if you're bringing people to your website from another site, I know Google Ads does this. I don't know if do you get, so using a techie term, UTM parameters automatically on Facebook and Instagram ads?
No, it goes through the pixel, and you use Google Tag Manager to tag it, so you have to manually.
Right. So let's just translate what we just said into English for people. So what we're talking about is that you can add to the link that you put to the website some parameters which identify exactly which ad, which campaign, and so on the click is coming from. And again, that's really, really helpful to compare the performance of different campaigns. And if you don't do that, you're likely, when you look at the analytics, to see all of your Instagram clicks that will just say Instagram paid ad. And you can't distinguish between which ad it was. And so that, and then if you sort of see some visitors are having a really good time on your site and some aren't, it would be really helpful to know if there was one ad that was really effective and one that wasn't, in terms of getting the right people with the right mindset. And so that piece about these parameters is actually really important to get the best possible data that you can get.
And for any marketing agencies listening, especially to that point, using that also allows you to create better ads, because if people are liking it, coming to your website, converting, or watching a lot of your content on your site, whatever it is, you can make more ads around that rather than just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and just hoping for the best.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, because there's an awful lot you can do with analytics that can really give you great ideas. And we should at the same time emphasize that, especially because of privacy issues and cookie consent and all of that, which is people saying, no, I don't want you to track me. When you look at your analytics, it's also important to understand that you're not looking at all the visitors. there will always be a proportion of visitors that are going to say, don't track me. And it's now basically illegal to track them if they say that. So what you're not looking at is a sort of auditable report of how many visitors your website got. What you are looking at is or what I feel is a useful report in terms of trends. In other words, that we certainly hope that the visitors that we are getting reporting on are somewhat representative of all visitors, so that we can see what the trends are in terms of behavior and what they like and what they don't like. But just to be really clear, if it says you got 500 visitors this week, that is almost 100% certain to be not actually the number of visitors you got.
For sure. So on top of that, do you think we should be concerned around data privacy using web analytics?
Well, I mean, again, my expertise is mostly in Google. It's against the terms of use. So for most people, they're using the free edition of Google Analytics 4, right? There is a paid edition, but it's pretty expensive. It's much more of a sort of enterprise solution. But the part of the terms are that it's absolutely not okay to use what we call personally identifiable information in what you collect. So, in other words, if somebody enters their email address into one of your forms or your order form or whatever, obviously you need that, and you're going to collect that and put it in your customer relations management system. But what you can't do is store it in the analytics data, which, of course, Google can see, and whoever they sell that data to can see. So the people they're selling the data to want to know, again, sort of generic, like how do people generally behave kinds of things. But you can't. So personal identifiable information includes things like email address, name, obviously, anything that can be tied to an individual. So a physical address, heaven forbid, a credit card or bank account number, right? You can't store that in the analytics. So even if you pass it through the analytics and out to your CRM, you can't keep it in the analytics data. So hopefully those issues are handled by that kind of rule.
So finally, I like to end off each episode with some actionable advice and examples. So can you give a few examples when using analytics has made a tangible difference in a business?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, number one is for the ads, just looking at people coming through from ads. Absolutely, if a lot of people bounce, knowing that and starting to try to diagnose why that is, looking at where they go next and what they do, trying to have a way to get their name, so get them to sign up for your mailing list or whatever, so that you have a way to get back to them. If you are looking for certain types of visitors, looking for ways to, as I said earlier, group them into audiences and people, groupings that you can identify and remarket to, because they'll have a user, it's not an identifiable, it's a number that looks like gobbledygook, but there is a unique attribute that they can be targeted with. But overall, as I think I said, hopefully at the beginning, the most important thing is you understand your strategy for your site. You can hire people like us, people like me, to help you understand what's going on with the analytics, to fully customize it for what you want to know. Excuse me, but you're the one who's the business owner or the marketing director or whatever, who, so somebody like me needs to know from you, what is it you're trying to achieve? What are the most important things you want to measure that will tell you whether or not you're getting what you want? Because without that, as you said, we're just all looking at massive numbers and just drowning in data. So really understanding what your business strategy is, and then getting help if you need it to apply that strategy to the data in your analytics to see what's working and what isn't.
I'm so happy you tie everything back to the goal, because that's a big thing that people miss, especially as marketers. I like to say, we just dump gas in a fire, we don't create it. I'm not here to solve your business strategy problem or figure out what you're trying to do. You coming to me to help you achieve that goal. That's it.
Yeah. And especially with social media, I do find that a lot of times people get excited. They're just like, oh, let's jump in, and they jump in, and they don't have a clear strategy. They don't have clear things they're looking for, or metrics, or outcomes, goals. And so they're just basically throwing money at something and seeing what sticks. And I mean, it's really not a good way to use your resources.
100%. Lastly, where can our listeners find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm absolutely happy to connect with anybody. And I need to put it on LinkedIn, but I do have a free ebook. If you want to ping me, I'd be happy to send it to you. And I need to create my link and get it out there. But I do have a free ebook which actually tells several stories of specific insights that we got from different types of businesses analytics, and what we did about it, and the impact that it had, and how you can apply that. So these are real life stories of things that the business wouldn't have known without the analytics, and hopefully to give people some inspiration and some idea about what kinds of things you can do.
Awesome. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so you guys can find her LinkedIn profile super easy. Thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been great fun.